Let's dive a little bit deeper into these latest two commits.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the book, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. Happy daggum Monday. Let's get this week kicked off right. And it kind of got shot out of a cannon last night as Auburn adds two commitments on Sunday. We talked about it a little bit on the live show last night. Some of it happened like right before we literally hit record, so wanted to kind of go back and dive a little bit deeper, particularly on Monty Williams and a little bit more on Preston Williams as well that I found. And then we're going to wind it up giving a shout out to Jackson Koivun making the cut at the U.S. Open and talk about his finish. But let's jump right into it. Auburn, I think, gosh, if we hit record at 8 o'clock, it had to happen like 10 minutes till because we were kind of going through what we're going to talk about. He committed and it kind of changed our itinerary as far as what we're going to talk about. So had to kind of retrack. Didn't really have a ton of time to really dive into who he is. His name popped up really quickly. Like I said, the staff kind of brought this guy in this past weekend, really trying to keep it under wraps because he's only been committed to West Virginia for 9 days. So it's not like he's a long-term West Virginia commit. It's something pretty fresh. Auburn wanted to sneak him in probably to really fill him out and then really fill out the Kingston Miles situation. As of hitting recording right now, Kingston Miles is still committed. I think Auburn would take three backs if they could. I don't know that that's going to happen, though. And it's understandable. Kingston is a stud, guys. Like, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat this whatsoever. Kingston's a stud. He's going to be really good at the next level. The hometown school was always going to be really hard to beat. And I think Zach said it best last night when he said, the previous staff at this point in time may have just paid him more. Just paid him more to make sure he gets here. The problem with that is once you're here for a year and you're not playing, the hometown school is probably still going to be calling. What are the odds that you stay for that year too? So whatever happens with Kingston Miles, I feel like Auburn's okay with either way. If he stays, that's awesome. If he flips, which it feels like that could probably happen today, they were ready for it. They were ready for it. And you don't have to look any further than, again, Monty Williams' commitment last night. Zach mentioned, could there be a potential crossover with Larry Porter at West Virginia? I think where the crossover comes from is when you get in a scenario like this kind of late in the game. And it's funny that we're talking about late in the game in, what's today, June 22nd. But yeah, the way the class is building, the way that the timelines move up now, that it's now the dead period, which we're going to talk about towards the end of the show. Yeah, timelines get moved up. So when you're kind of in a bind here, you had two backs, you want to take two. One of them's looking like it could flip. What do? Well, what you typically do is you lean on relationships. And Larry Porter is the Memphis connection. He was the head coach there. He's had success recruiting that area. So Larry Porter probably just calls, a few of his connections still over there, says, hey, I need a running back. And they're like, man, I tell you what, you need to look at this kid, Monty Williams. And when you turn on the film, you'll understand why. He's flying mega under the radar because last year he played at like a private school league in Tennessee. Now, Tennessee high school recruiting is not really known to put out a ton of powerhouse prospects from 1 to 6A, typically those top classification guys, like there can be some really good players that come out of there. So not only are you not in just regular high school football, what it would be Tennessee High School Athletic Association, so THSAA, you're in like a private school, or I think they call it a secondary school league. So he's in the TSSAA, the Secondary School Athletic Association. So picture like small 1A football in Alabama, okay? Probably looking at that type of competition. You can watch his highlights from last year. I think he's got a midseason highlight film. You can really tell the classification by the camera footage. And, it's tough. It's kind of a hard film to watch just because they just don't have all of the stuff that, the bigger schools have to get all those angles, get all that good film. He had really good stats last year. I think he averaged over 10 yards a carry, which is what you should do at that particular level. And he was a really, really good receiving threat. Okay, so Tennessee high school in general is probably going to be a little bit of a strike against you. And then Tennessee private school is probably going to be even another strike. Okay, so people aren't going to have eyes on him. Well, he's transferred now to Southwind High School, which I believe is at the top of the classification in Memphis. As a matter of fact, I think last year they went 13-1, lost in the semifinals, were undefeated until the semifinals. So a really, really good program in the state of Tennessee. I'm going to try to give you a comparison, okay? Let's say a couple of years ago, Alvin Henderson, that's 1A football. Alvin Henderson transfers to the nearest school of that size, probably Enterprise or Dothan, okay? Let's say he transfers to one of those schools and he puts on similar stats, or hey, even if it's just a step down, even if it's a small step down, he's probably not going to rush for like 3,000 yards or whatever the heck he was rushing for at Elba. But let's say he goes for like 1,500 yards. The eyeballs on Alvin just for making that step would have been they would have grown exponentially. Okay, so Monty has the ability now to take the production he had at the lower level, and if he's able to replicate it in that league, again, you're just talking about kind of hitting the lottery and getting on a kid super early. He posted he posted some film from his spring game, and I think it was only 3 clips, but obviously one of them is a touchdown run and great burst and acceleration. So as far as speed goes, he's going to be fine. There's an element to his game, though, that I think is going to be key in how well he translates at the next level, and that's his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Because the second clip, he runs a wheel route, and you're thinking, oh, man, that's not like that super impressive. But it's a wheel route that gets a little bit deeper than it needs to be, and it becomes almost like a fade into the corner that he catches over his shoulder. Okay, so running backs, if I put the ball in their chest, that's one thing. Them reaching out, catching it, going away from them over their shoulder. I think he had close over 250 yards receiving last year. That's something that I think is vastly underrated as part of his game. Okay, so we'll see how he translates this year, but you got a chance to be kind of on the front end of maybe a blossoming recruitment. So again, 9 days ago, he commits to West Virginia. Now he's part of this class, came in kind of behind the curtain, so to speak. And hey, Auburn pivoted, saw there could be a potential issue, said, hey, let's check our connections. Let's see what we got. We got a kid that I think can be a pretty decent prospect. Let's bring him in. And they close the deal. That's one thing, man. They bring kids in for the most part, and they lock them down. There's only a handful of examples of guys where that they really, really want, that have come in and left for very long without being committed. So great job. I think this kid's going to be one to watch. This could be a fun one. Love his running style. A bigger back again, 205, 210 pounds, depending on where you're looking, and like another one that's like 5'11", 6 foot, right there at that 6 foot range. That feels like that's what style of running back or kind of running back that Golesh wants in this system. So again, I wanted to dig in on Monty, learn a little bit more about him. And I think Auburn may have stolen a pretty good one here. Could be interesting to follow. So we're going to do the same thing with Preston Williams. We're going to jump in with Preston Williams here in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Precision Tune Auto Care at the corner of 2 parkways. How many places can you find at the corner of 2 parkways? At Veterans and Pepperell Parkway. It's open now from 7 a.m. It opens now at 7 a.m. So you can get in there and get stuff done early and then head to work if you need to. But right now they're trying to get you to beat the heat, get a free AC performance evaluation, free system pressure test, free vent temperature analysis, and then $50 off any AC repairs over $300. And if you drop it off to do all that, and it's between 7 and 9, you can get a $50 oil change only for Barn listeners. So show them some love. It's Precision Tune Auto Care, and you can even check out that bidet if you want to. And then buyauburn.com. Be who you say you are and do business with Auburn people everywhere. Talked with 3 folks over the weekend. Got some really cool businesses we're going to be adding very, very soon. The thing keeps growing, guys. Start your shopping process at buyauburn.com. Say, hey, look, here's the deal. I'm looking for X. Let's go to buyauburn.com and see if an Auburn person does it first, and then I'll kind of pivot and go from there. That needs to be all of our buying processes, okay? And then if you're a business owner, you can be a part of that for less than $1 a day. So hopefully, as Auburn fans, we're going to seek out Auburn people to do business with first. And if we do that, we're going to buyauburn.com. Show us some love. We'll be back right after this. All right, now let's talk about Preston Williams a little bit more in detail. He goes to a very small school in southeast Alabama, Skipperville, Alabama. Who knows where Skipperville is? So if you were to take a line and start at Auburn and essentially draw a straight line down to Dothan, you're going to get pretty close to going straight through Skipperville. A little bit closer on the Dothan side, right there close to Abbeville as well. But yeah, it's a 2A high school, and GW Long's Facebook will have to be blamed if this is incorrect, but who's the head coach at Jacksonville State? Charles Kelly. And where did Charles Kelly graduate high school in 1985? That would be GW Long. When you are the head coach at a school like Jacksonville State, you're going to have to really lean on, I think, a lot of these smaller school guys, because bigger schools, your SECs and your Power 4 conferences are going to be a little bit more leery at taking, smaller school guys than they would a very productive guy at, let's just say, 4 through 6 or 7A. That's just the case. So right there, Preston was behind the 8 ball because he played at a smaller classification. And then I don't know much about GW Long in the recent memory. I know that they've been a good football program in the past. He's one of those kids that he's in that classification, and he's one of the best athletes on the field. So he's playing quarterback. He's playing wide receiver. He's playing on defense. The bigger, the Power 4 schools, where do I put him? He's a great athlete, but like, what is he at the next level? That's where, these Jacksonville States and the Troys and the South Alabamas, they can totally afford to go get just the best athletes off of a team in those classifications and figure it out. And I think that was what the deal was with Preston Williams. And I think Charles Kelly, he's a safeties guy. He's a DB guy. So more than likely, that's where he had him pegged, And I think that's probably where Auburn has him pegged as well. But he's coming in as an athlete, and he is that. Again, he played everything. He plays everything. He's going to play everything this upcoming year. There's really zero risk with this addition, and Auburn does really like him. He would have been one of the more important players in that Jacksonville State class. Like that was their guy. Their guy that they were going to pony up NIL to make it happen. And Auburn's going to be able to now take him away and see what you get. Good athlete. Maybe you strike gold. Maybe you don't. There's almost zero risk. But I know Auburn sees a kid that could grow into a really good defensive back or a really good receiver, particularly safety, or more like he's like 6'2", so he's probably could play on the outside as far as receiver goes. But they made it very clear they're bringing him in as an athlete. They're going to see what happens when he gets here. When you're filling out this roster, because look, your spots now are less. You don't have the 120 roster spots that you can have, and then 85 were on scholarship, and then you'd have 35 that would go as walk-ons. Well, now it's just 105. So you can't just take anybody, and you got to fill the roster out. So a lot of those number 90 to 105 guys are probably still going to be guys that end up on a commit list. The Preston Williams type guys, those under the radar, low risk dudes to help you fill out that roster. And it helps you because a guy like Preston Williams is going to be as loyal as he can be to Auburn until it feels like maybe there's a dead end and I got to go somewhere else. But he may stay that an extra year at Auburn that he may not stay elsewhere because of the personal connection. Growing up an Auburn fan, I think his commitment post that he posted, he's got pictures of him as a kid. I mentioned this on the show last night. Him wearing, an Auburn football helmet, an Auburn football jersey at like 6 or 7 years old. So there's absolutely no reason not to bring in a guy like that. If he can give you 2 years minimum, that's phenomenal. And then if you strike gold somewhere in there and he develops and shoots up and becomes a Caleb Harris or becomes, one of these unsung guys who is like, hey, y'all just didn't have enough eyeballs on me because I'm a dog. It's a win-win for everybody. So if Charles Kelly wanted him to come play safety, I feel like the kid's probably a pretty good player because that guy had an eye for talent for sure. So Preston Williams, wanted to give you a little bit of a deeper dive there. It is now the dead period. Okay, so what does the dead period mean? Number one, it means that there's no more visits until it opens back up, which is, I believe it doesn't open up until the football season starts. So no on-campus visiting. So official visits are over until football season. Another thing it does is coaches cannot go visit. So coaches can't go visit practices, workouts, anything, no evaluation. Okay? The only thing they can do right now is communicate via phone, text, stuff like that. So you're still going to see commitments. As a matter of fact, you're going to see one tomorrow, more than likely. Going to see more commitments throughout the end of June and into July leading up to, the football season. But there's just not going to be any in-person contact in theory. I'm sure there's some people pushing the envelope, but that's the period we're in right now. So you'll probably see some coaches, the very few moments that they can go have a vacation. You may see stuff like that. Regardless, it's a time to kind of both sides, recruits and coaches, to kind of reset and get ready for the season. But that's what we're in right now, dead period. So recruiting information may slow down a little bit. my God, we're already close to the end of the class. I mean, if Kingston Miles decommits, you're still at 21 commits. So, and then after tomorrow, you could get another one today, be at 22. You get one tomorrow, you're at 23. So, not only is it just slowing down because not only is recruiting information going to slow down because of the dead period, but it's going to slow down because you're just about done. Talk really quickly about Jackson Koivun. Got to give him a shout out. So you had the U.S. Open this past weekend, and when you're playing as an amateur, even though he's declared he's going to play pro, again, he had the exemption, so he didn't have to go qualify for the U.S. Open, but he had the exemption as an amateur. So he's only, 3 weeks removed from winning a national championship, and now he's playing in the U.S. Open as an amateur. Even though he's declared pro, it's still a big deal to just make the cut. There's 2 goals when you're an amateur. Number 1, make the cut, and then number 2, you want to be the lowest amateur. You want to shoot the lowest score of all the amateurs. Well, Jackson did both of those. He made the cut by, I think, either on the number or by a shot. So he snuck in. He got totally screwed on Thursday. If you watched the tournament at all, the morning wave, which is the people that go off between like 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, or I guess they were going on even earlier than that. So just say 7 and 10, had terrible conditions. And then the guys that went off in the afternoon, those, that 12 o'clock and on, those tee times, the conditions really were much, much playable. Actually, they were the best conditions of the whole weekend. So he had to go out there and fight through the elements, through fog, through wind, and then, his counterparts maybe get a little bit of an easier draw in that afternoon. So he fought through that adversity, made the cut, and then yesterday he had a really, really good round. I think he shot like 3 under yesterday to get into a tie as far as the low amateur. So you accomplish both of your goals in your first tournament after declaring pro, even though you're playing as an amateur. Now you're going to have a week off, and then I think you're going to go play the John Deere Classic, which is 2 weeks from now. I think that's correct. And the John Deere has been a springboard for young players. Bryson DeChambeau's first win, Jordan Spieth's first win. Could this be the launching pad for Jackson Koivun? I mean, to have a top 50, I think it was actually even a top 40 finish in a major, in not your first appearance, but your first appearance after declaring. Pretty cool stuff. So he'll be a fun career to track, no doubt. Guys, I really appreciate you listening. Thanks for tuning in to the live last night. Hang in there with us. We're still got some fireworks to go right here at the front part of the week, and then things are really, really going to slow down on the recruiting trail. So we'll pivot back to the team and everything that's going on as they get ready for this 2026 season. Y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.